Very last piece, people. All right, we're going to talk about constructors. We have a class called Marine. It has one private field, and that is int x. So you can't get to it from your subclasses, right? It's private. You have two constructors, one that takes one parameter and the other takes 0 parameters. Do you remember what this is called? It's a default constructor. It's a default constructor if it takes 0 parameters. Default constructor, 0 parameters. That's all that fits, small board. All right, so if you pass in the x value, then you'll probably set your field by just using that. And if you don't pass in the x value, you still have to set it somehow. So maybe you'll set it with a 0. I don't know, making it up, okay? So now let's create a subclass of Marine. Let's call it Submarine. I know, it's hilarious, right? That's why you love me. All right, it has its own private string variable. Okay, so it has a private string a, this has a private int x. If you create a submarine and you want to be able to use marine stuff, you may have to call some methods that are up here and they may use x. So you have to set up that x also. So here's what we're gonna do. In this one, I'm gonna write 3 different constructors for submarine. One is gonna take 2 parameters. One is gonna take 1 parameter. Submarine. This one we're just gonna pass in, how about the string, okay? We're just gonna pass in the string. And in this last one, we are gonna pass absolutely nothing in. It's going to be the default constructor. It's the default constructor for submarine. All right, now, if you're gonna wanna use methods that are over here, in order to do that, you need to set up this variable. So the first thing, the very first thing, you don't get an option. The first thing you do, because this is an extension of this one, you have to set this one up first so that this can extend. So the first thing you do is call super and pass it y, okay? That will access this constructor, right? That will access that constructor and say, hey, run this constructor, make me a marine object that I can extend. And then you can go ahead and set this one a, this a. This dot a is equal to a. Hooray! Now both fields are set and we're good. Okay, your other option is down here, submarine, pass string a. Okay, so we pass in 1 variable. I still have to call super, but I don't have an integer to give it. So I don't know what x is gonna be. But luckily there's a default constructor that doesn't require me to pass an integer. So I'm gonna call that one, right? And then I'll still set this dot a equal to the a that was passed in. So again, this x value is now 0, this a is equal to the a that was passed in, both fields are set, we're good. Okay, and lastly, we're gonna make a default constructor for submarine. Well, I still have to make a marine because I am just going to extend it, right? So I make a marine object and I make sure x is set and it'll be set to 0. And then I have to still set a, but I can set a to be anything I want, right? So I could set it to, I don't know, the letter a, it doesn't really matter. But I'm picking something and it doesn't come in through parameters. But even though I got nothing passed in, I still made sure that this field and this field were both set. Now the really big important thing to remember, because this is a mistake that everybody makes a lot, oops, this one is accessing this one. The big thing is that this call to super must happen before anything else. It must be the #1 thing that you do in your subclasses constructors is call that super up above. you have to call your superclass's constructor, and it has to be the very first thing that you do. If you forget, Java will not like it. All right? So on that note, I will see you in class. All right?